My ex completely destroyed me on social media, calling me the ugliest person he'd ever dated before planning to leave me. So I vanished without explanation today. After weeks of dodging 41 frantic calls, I discovered him completely broken down outside my place, literally weeping on the ground. So Marcus and I had been dating for nearly 3 years when this nightmare began. We first connected when I was 22. He seemed like the perfect guy who could actually handle basic household problems when my dishwasher decided to malfunction. That felt like a positive indicator at the time, or at least I convinced myself it was a good sign. We started following each other online, began constant messaging, and everything just naturally evolved from there. Those 3 years felt pretty solid overall. We established our own comfortable patterns and traditions, documentary marathons every Friday night, family gatherings at his parents' house twice monthly, annual summer adventures with his friend group. He never forgot special occasions and genuinely paid attention when I shared stories about my daily experiences. Honestly, that level of emotional investment feels almost impossible to find nowadays. Quick background note, my previous relationship involved someone who literally believed emotional support meant handing me tissues during mental breakdowns. So, yeah, my standards were basically underground at that point. Fast forward to last Wednesday, I'm casually browsing during my lunch break when my phone buzzes with a message from my friend Casey. Just a social media link followed by, "Urgent call me immediately," written in capital letters. Casey isn't someone who overreacts to drama. She once described a small problem when her entire basement was actively flooding. So this immediately grabbed my attention. I tapped the link and there's Marcus, clearly visible at Murphy's Pub, that sketchy establishment where his crew meets every Tuesday evening. I could identify the location instantly because of that broken Corona sign flickering behind him every few seconds. We'd actually timed its pattern once while waiting for our food order. He's obviously several drinks beyond his limit, face completely flushed, practically draped over his buddy Alex. Someone behind the camera challenges him to rate his current girlfriend. And I swear the transformation on his face was absolutely terrifying. Gone was his usual warm expression, replaced by this malicious grin I'd never witnessed before, like he was about to reveal the world's most devastating secret. Sarah, honestly, she's probably the most unattractive woman I've ever been involved with, maybe a 2 if she's having an exceptional day. The entire table explodes with shocked reactions while someone shouts encouragement. Marcus just continues smirking and elaborates further. But hey, she prepares incredible Mexican food and never creates drama about guys' nights. So I tolerate her presence. Zero hassle. You understand what I mean? Then someone wonders aloud if he's concerned about me discovering this footage. His response? Absolutely not. She's completely oblivious about social media platforms. Plus, I'm considering a replacement anyway. Way too much emotional complications. The timestamp revealed it was uploaded at 11:52 p.m. Tuesday evening. While I was at home applying skincare treatments and sending him affectionate goodnight messages, the clip had already reached 203,000 views with thousands of brutal comments. I just sat there in that employee break room, completely paralyzed, staring at my screen in disbelief. No tears, no screaming, just this bizarre numbness spreading throughout my entire body. 3 years of building something together, and this represents his genuine opinion of me. The previous evening, he'd been at my place, we'd prepared dinner together, discussed potentially finding a shared living space when my current rental agreement expires in October. He'd kissed me farewell, saying "love you, sweetheart," like those words carried real meaning. Apparently, 12 hours later, I'd become the ugly girlfriend he was secretly planning to abandon. I quickly messaged Casey, coming over after work. Please don't mention this to anyone else. Then I silenced every notification, buried my phone deep in my purse, and somehow survived 4 additional client meetings without having a complete emotional collapse. Functioning on autopilot is genuinely surreal. After finishing work, I skipped going home entirely. Instead, I headed straight to the nearest discount store, purchased an inexpensive travel bag, and filled it with absolute necessities: toothbrush, body wash, phone cable, several clean outfits. Total cost $59.84. I still have that receipt tucked away somewhere for reasons I can't explain. I drove to Casey's apartment complex at exactly 6:21 p.m., then sat motionless in the parking lot for 40 minutes, just staring into space while replaying that horrible video repeatedly in my mind. I kept remembering every occasion Marcus had complimented my appearance. When I dressed elegantly for his company holiday celebration, when I was recovering from bronchitis last November, just 4 weeks earlier when we visited the lake and I felt incredibly insecure wearing a swimsuit. Were those all complete fabrications? Just meaningless words people say when they're stuck with someone. Casey didn't interrogate me when I appeared at her door looking devastated. She simply gestured toward her sofa, retrieved 2 glasses of that inexpensive wine we used to drink during university, and asked, "So what's our game plan?" That's when I made my decision. I refused to give Marcus the satisfaction of a traditional breakup scene. No weeping, no pleading, no explosive confrontation he could later brag about to his drinking buddies. I was simply going to vanish completely from his life. We spent that entire evening creating a comprehensive action plan. Blocked Marcus across every digital platform, phone, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, changed every single password since he was familiar with most of my login information. Called in sick for the remainder of the week. Only informed my mother about my actual whereabouts and situation. By midnight, Marcus had sent 11 messages. Initially, normal stuff. "Hey, what sounds appealing for dinner tonight? And are you still planning to come over later?" By morning, his tone dramatically shifted. "Where did you disappear to? And why won't you respond to me?" By afternoon, he'd attempted calling 18 times. Not once did he reference the social media video. Not a single apology appeared anywhere. I remained at Casey's place Wednesday through Friday, binge-watching reality television marathons. Trash TV becomes surprisingly therapeutic when your personal life is completely imploding. I cried extensively in the bathroom so Casey wouldn't witness my emotional breakdown. We ordered excessive amounts of delivery food since neither of us had energy for actual cooking. Friday morning, Casey volunteered to retrieve additional clothing from my apartment. She reported that Marcus had obviously been inside my place, empty soda cans scattered on my counter, his sweatshirt draped across my armchair. He'd taped a handwritten note to my front door. "Please contact me. We absolutely must discuss this situation." Still zero acknowledgement of why we might need any discussion. As if I'm supposed to remain completely oblivious about that devastating video. The social media post mysteriously vanished from his account Friday evening, but the damage was already irreversible. Multiple people had screen recorded it, and copies were circulating throughout our entire social network. My phone was constantly buzzing with concerned messages from acquaintances I hadn't contacted in ages. The weekend became a hazy blur of avoiding calls from unrecognized numbers. Marcus was obviously using his friends' devices once he realized I'd blocked his personal number. I jumped nervously every time someone knocked on Casey's door. Terrified he might appear, Jessica from my old book club sent me screenshots of Marcus's Instagram stories, vague posts about losing someone special, and my life's biggest regret accompanied by melancholy song lyrics. Classic damage control manipulation tactics. Sunday evening, 34 missed calls. Monday morning, 41 attempts. I finally returned to work Monday, and my supervisor actually embraced me when I walked inside. Apparently, the video had appeared on her social media feed too, and she offered me another personal day if needed. I declined. I desperately needed normalcy, needed to focus on anything besides the complete disaster my relationship had become. Marcus appeared at my workplace during lunch break. I hid in the supply storage area while my colleague informed him I wasn't available. I could hear his voice, that familiar deep tone I used to find comforting, filtering through the door. He sounded completely exhausted, which felt appropriate given the circumstances. By Tuesday morning, exactly 7 days since discovering that horrible footage, his missed call total reached 37. His most recent text contained just one desperate word: "Please." I needed to collect my mail since I had a package requiring signature confirmation. I figured 8:15 a.m. would be safe since Marcus typically departed for work around 7:45. I was completely mistaken. I inserted my key and discovered him positioned on my doormat, the one he'd gifted me that reads, "Home is where the Wi-Fi automatically connects." When he heard my approach, he looked up, and honestly, the man appeared absolutely destroyed. Completely unshaven, dark shadows under his eyes, wearing the identical band t-shirt I'd seen in his Instagram story from 3 days prior. The moment he spotted me, he literally collapsed. Not theatrical fake drama. His body actually gave out completely. Dropped to his knees, tears instantly flowing, repeating my name endlessly like a broken prayer or desperate mantra. I stood there holding my keys, experiencing absolute emptiness, then overwhelming emotion, then complete numbness again. "Sarah, please forgive me. I have absolutely no idea why I spoke those horrible words. I was completely intoxicated, My friends were encouraging me. I didn't mean any of it. Please just have one conversation with me. I interrupted him immediately. I witnessed your true feelings about me. There's absolutely nothing left to discuss. I stepped around his crumpled form like he was furniture, collected my mail, and walked back toward my vehicle. He pursued me across the parking lot, still sobbing, still begging desperately for another chance. I climbed into my car, secured all the locks, and drove back to Casey's place. He attempted calling 7 additional times before I'd even crossed town to reach safety, so here we are currently. It's been precisely 8 days, 6 hours, and 31 minutes since I discovered that footage, since I understood that the person I trusted above everyone else views me as a temporary convenience until someone superior appears. I'm uncertain what comes next in this situation. Part of me, a tiny, foolish fragment, misses him terribly. Misses our established routines. Misses believing I was genuinely loved and valued. I keep hearing his words echoing. Most unattractive. Replacement so casual, so devastatingly cruel. 3 years together, and apparently that represents my actual worth to him. I'll provide updates when there's more to share. For now, I'm just surviving one day at a time, trying to rebuild my shattered self-confidence. Hey everyone, remember me? The woman whose boyfriend of 3 years called her hideous on social media, then acted completely bewildered when she disappeared. Yeah, that's still my current reality, unfortunately. First, massive thanks for all the encouragement on my previous post. It's been exactly 21 days since I witnessed that video and 13 days since Marcus appeared sobbing at my doorstep. Let me tell you, things have become increasingly surreal and complicated. After I abandoned Marcus in that parking lot, Tuesday morning, 8:51 a.m., according to my dashboard clock, I drove directly back to Casey's apartment in complete zombie mode. Throughout the entire drive, my phone kept illuminating with incoming calls. Marcus had apparently escalated to using his mother's phone to contact me, which represents a particularly pathetic level of desperation. When I returned to Casey's place, I simply sat motionless in her kitchen, fixated on the faded wine, not magnet attached to her refrigerator. I couldn't produce any more tears, like my emotions had finally exceeded their monthly capacity for processing trauma. Casey returned from her work shift around to 4:45 p.m. and discovered me in the identical position, still wearing my jacket. She just exhaled deeply, handed me a flavored seltzer from the fridge, grapefruit flavor, clearly superior choice, and said something that genuinely made me reflect on everything. She wondered if I'd been observing warning signs with Marcus all along, but had been unconsciously filtering them out. Initially, I became completely defensive. Marcus and I maintained what seemed like a healthy relationship. He remembered important dates, watched romantic dramas with me despite claiming to hate them, never complained when my hair products cluttered the bathroom counter. Standards are literally underground these days, and I thought he was exceeding them significantly. But then Casey began asking pointed, uncomfortable questions. Had Marcus ever made subtle comments about my appearance previously? Well, there was that occasion he mentioned my favorite dress made me appear somewhat frumpy, but in a cute way. And when I got professional highlights last autumn, he wondered if the salon had intentionally made them that golden. He also had this peculiar habit of pointing out celebrities he found attractive, always the extremely thin, natural beauty types who looked absolutely nothing like me. Did Marcus genuinely support my personal ambitions? I mean, he claimed pride when I received a significant promotion last year, but also suggested maybe I shouldn't accept it because the additional stress might prove too overwhelming for me. When I mentioned possibly returning to graduate school someday, he always shifted the conversation to discussing how financially expensive it would be. Did Marcus maintain equal standards for our relationship dynamics? Thinking about it honestly, absolutely not. If I arrived 20 minutes late meeting him somewhere, I'd receive a series of increasingly irritated messages questioning my commitment. But he could cancel our plans last minute to hang with his drinking buddies. And I was expected to be completely understanding and supportive by the time we finished our drinks. I had this terrible sinking sensation in my stomach. The social media incident wasn't some bizarre out-of-character moment. It was simply the first time I'd witnessed what had been there all along, without the filter of desperately wanting to believe we were perfect together, but in an endearing way. And when I got professional color treatment last autumn, he wondered if the stylist had intentionally made them that golden. He also maintained this strange tendency of highlighting actresses he considered appealing, consistently the extremely slender, natural beauty types who bore zero resemblance to me. Did Marcus genuinely encourage my personal aspirations? Well, he claimed excitement when I received my promotion last year, but simultaneously suggested perhaps I shouldn't accept it since the additional pressure might overwhelm me. When I mentioned potentially returning to graduate school eventually, he consistently redirected our conversation toward discussing the financial burden it would create. Did Marcus apply identical relationship standards to both of us? Honestly, reflecting, absolutely not. If I arrived 20 minutes late to meet him anywhere, I'd receive multiple increasingly frustrated messages questioning my priorities. However, he could abandon our scheduled plans at the last moment to socialize with his drinking buddies, and I was expected to remain completely understanding about it. By the time we completed our beverages, I experienced this terrible dropping sensation in my stomach. The social media incident wasn't some strange out-of-character occurrence. It represented the first occasion I'd witnessed what had existed there continuously, without the lens of desperately wanting to believe our relationship was flawless. That evening, Marcus escalated his behavior to an unprecedented level. At precisely 9:23 p.m., Casey's doorbell chimed. We both became motionless, like we'd been discovered committing some terrible crime. Through the security peephole stood Marcus, clutching the most pathetic grocery store bouquet I'd ever witnessed. Casey immediately activated protective mode. She opened the door barely enough to obstruct the interior view and informed him I wasn't present. I could detect his voice breaking as he pleaded with her to allow him just 5 minutes of conversation, claiming he hadn't slept for days, mentioning he'd lost 9 pounds, insisting he'd do absolutely anything to repair the situation. After Casey eventually convinced him to depart, she discovered a handwritten message he'd secretly slipped beneath the door. 11 pages, both sides filled completely. I must confess I read it multiple times. It contained extensive content, tear marks staining the paper, commitments to spend his remaining lifetime compensating me, explanations about his intoxication, peer pressure from his friends, having experienced a terrible day at his job, classic responsibility deflection techniques. However, one particular sentence actually affected me emotionally. I expressed those terrible words because I feel inadequate and terrified. You'll discover you're too valuable for me. For approximately 25 minutes, I genuinely considered contacting him. That demonstrates how psychologically damaged this entire situation had made me, like he had publicly humiliated me, and I was experiencing sympathy for him. Fortunately, Casey's internet connection chose that precise moment to malfunction. Typical Thursday evening service interruption, so we couldn't even stream entertainment. Instead, we ended up examining old photographs on my phone. And that's when I experienced my first genuine revelation. In literally every picture of Marcus and me together from the past year, I'm gazing at him with this enormous smile while he's either staring at his phone, looking somewhere else entirely, or making some ridiculous expression. Not a single photograph existed where he's looking at me with the same affection I'm showing him. How had I never observed that pattern previously? Friday morning delivered another development. My brother Carlos contacted me to report that Marcus had appeared at his apartment at 7:15 a.m., inquiring if he knew my current location. Carlos, being the overprotective sibling he naturally is, informed Marcus that if he visited again, they'd be having a completely different type of discussion. Dramatic, perhaps, but I genuinely appreciated the protective gesture. By that point, I was actually beginning to feel suffocated by all of Marcus's persistent contact attempts. It wasn't romantic behavior, it felt uncomfortable and invasive. So I accomplished something I'd been postponing. I composed a message. Simple, straightforward, leaving no room for misunderstanding. I require space. Please cease contacting me, my friends, and my family members. I'll reach out when or if I'm prepared to communicate. Sent it at 10:34 a.m. Immediately powered off my phone for 3 hours because I couldn't handle witnessing his response. I finally checked again. 5 lengthy paragraphs were waiting for me. The summary. He understood completely. He'd respect my clearly stated boundaries. He'd wait indefinitely, if that's what it required. Followed immediately by 4 additional messages asking when. Indefinitely might conclude, and if we could please just meet for coffee the following week. So much for respecting clearly. Established boundaries. The weekend proved actually peaceful. Casey's roommate Jennifer was out of town visiting her grandparents, so we had the entire place to ourselves. We ordered delivery food, applied facial treatments, watched all 3 Magic Mike films, obviously for the storyline, and I went a complete 24 hours without checking my phone. It felt like emerging for air after being submerged underwater for weeks. Sunday evening, however, circumstances took another unexpected turn. I was browsing through Instagram before bedtime, terrible habit. I acknowledge when I discovered it. Marcus had uploaded a video, not just any video, a public apology directed at me, tagged me in it, and everything. 4 minutes and 31 seconds of him positioned in his vehicle, staring directly at the camera with bloodshot eyes, informing everyone who witnessed that horrible social media post how deeply sorry he felt, how much he regrets damaging the most beautiful person, inside and out, that I've ever known, and how he's learning to become a better man. The comments section was chaotic. Some people praising him for accepting responsibility, absolutely nauseating. Others criticizing him for making my humiliation about himself again. His friend Alex commenting, "Stay strong, buddy," like Marcus was the victim in this situation. I couldn't sleep afterward, kept contemplating how even his apology was public. Even his supposed rock-bottom moment was carefully recorded, probably with multiple attempts, and posted during optimal social media engagement hours to 8 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Monday morning, I decided I needed to return to my own apartment. Casey had been absolutely amazing, but I couldn't hide at her place indefinitely. Plus, her water heater had been malfunctioning all weekend, and cold showers in February definitely weren't appealing. As I was organizing my travel bag, my phone chimed with a payment app notification. Marcus had sent me $350 with the message for the anniversary celebration we'll never experience. Our 3-year anniversary would have occurred the following week. I returned it immediately, then blocked him on that platform as well. The drive back to my apartment felt like traveling to a job interview I knew I'd completely fail. Every traffic light had me checking my rearview mirror, half expecting to spot Marcus's vehicle appearing behind me. Fortunately, my apartment building was Marcus-free when I arrived. My neighbor Mrs. Chen nodded at me in the corridor like I hadn't been absent for over 2 weeks. My plants had all died, rest in peace to my allegedly indestructible rubber plant. The air smelled stagnant and faintly like the Thai takeout I'd forgotten in the refrigerator. It felt simultaneously strange and familiar, like wearing clothing that doesn't quite fit properly anymore. Then I noticed them, sticky notes everywhere. On my bathroom mirror, "I miss your laughter." On my refrigerator, "Remember our first date here?" On my television, "Our streaming queue misses you." On my nightstand, "I can't rest without you." I stood there completely shocked, gradually understanding what had occurred. Marcus still possessed the spare key I'd given him last year. He'd been inside my apartment while I was away. My skin immediately felt crawling sensations. I inspected all the storage areas, beneath the bed, behind the shower curtain, half convinced he might be concealed somewhere. He wasn't present, but the violation of my personal space felt equally disturbing. I contacted my landlord immediately and explained the circumstances. He agreed to replace my locks the following morning. Then I methodically went throughout my apartment, removing every single sticky note and tearing them into microscopic pieces. Petty behavior, perhaps, but absolutely satisfying. That evening was my first one back in my own bed, and I won't deceive you, it felt strange. I kept awakening, expecting to sense Marcus's presence on the mattress. My brain hadn't adjusted to the reality that we were finished. Tuesday morning, yesterday, I was preparing coffee when someone knocked on my door. My heart stopped momentarily before I remembered Marcus's key wouldn't function anymore. It wasn't Marcus. It was Alex. Alex, who had been in that social media video, laughing along while Marcus called me hideous. Alex, who I'd been friends with before I even met Marcus. Alex, who had apparently arrived as Marcus's representative. He appeared uncomfortable, shifting nervously from foot to foot in the hallway, beginning with casual conversation about the weather conditions, seriously, before finally reaching his actual purpose. Marcus was in a really terrible emotional state and just wanted 5 minutes to explain himself. I asked Alex if he remembered laughing in that video. He had the decency to appear ashamed, claiming he was intoxicated and simply following along with the group. Then he presented me with this precious statement. He didn't mean any of it. "Sarah, you understand how men communicate when they're together. I don't want to be with someone who communicates like that with his friends, intoxicated or sober. I don't want to wonder what he says about me when I'm absent. I don't want to be with someone who requires a public emotional breakdown in a friendship. Intervention to realize he values me." I thanked Alex for visiting, told him I hoped Marcus would feel better eventually, and closed the door. Last evening, I went through my phone and unfollowed Marcus on every platform where we were still connected. Removed the photographs of us from my apartment walls. Packed up the sweater he consistently left at my place and the gaming controller he used when he visited. Placed them in a box in my closet, not prepared to return them yet, but not wanting to see them either. Then I ordered myself dinner from that restaurant Marcus always complained was too spicy, but that I secretly adored. Ate it while watching The Walking Dead, which Marcus refused to watch because he doesn't enjoy zombie programs. Used the luxurious bath bomb my mother gave me for Christmas that I had been saving for a special occasion. Around midnight, my phone illuminated with a text from a number I didn't recognize. It's Marcus. Please don't block this number. I just need to understand one thing. Did those 3 years mean anything to you? Because they were everything to me. I stared at those words for an extended time. 3 years of private jokes and holiday celebrations and lazy Sunday mornings. 3 years of constructing a life I thought we'd share forever. And also 3 years of small criticisms disguised as humor. 3 years of walking carefully around his emotional states. 3 years of making myself smaller to make him comfortable. I didn't respond. Just added the number to my blocked list and powered off my phone. This morning, I awakened and accomplished something I haven't done in 2.5 weeks. I created a plan for myself, not a reaction to Marcus. Not a hiding strategy. Just a normal day for myself. But as I was preparing to leave to get coffee, I noticed something that made my heart race with anxiety. What would happen next in this seemingly endless cycle of his attempts to contact me? I witnessed something that made my heart sink completely. Tyler's social media profile photo had been updated to show us together from last autumn at his sister's graduation ceremony. With my head resting against his chest, both of us appearing happy. It shouldn't have mattered at all. It shouldn't have impacted me whatsoever. But it absolutely did affect me deeply. I'll provide more updates when additional developments occur. For now, I'm managing this situation one step at a time and recalling what my grandmother used to tell me. Sometimes garbage removes itself from your life. Hey everyone! I hadn't planned to share another update this quickly, but this past week has been overwhelming and I need to work through it all. It's been precisely 35 days since I discovered that video. 1 complete month of reconstructing my existence without someone I believed would be my lifelong partner. Honestly, some days feel better than others in this healing process. The strangest incident occurred last Saturday. I was shopping at Walmart, my therapeutic retail destination. Please don't judge me searching for new bedding, because I finally chose to discard the navy blue sheets Tyler always claimed complemented his green eyes. Absolutely nauseating. I was deciding between forest green and burnt orange options when I noticed a woman observing me from the opposite end of the aisle. Initially, I assumed perhaps I had something on my clothing or a tissue paper attached to my footwear. Wouldn't be my first embarrassing moment. However, she approached me appearing extremely uncomfortable and inquired if I was the woman from Tyler's social media post. My stomach immediately dropped. It's one experience to be publicly humiliated online. It's completely different to be identified by complete strangers at Walmart on a random Saturday while wearing zero makeup and sporting yesterday's disheveled hairstyle. Before I could even respond, she began this incredibly awkward apology, explaining she had been among the people who posted something cruel on the original video but felt horrible after witnessing Tyler's public apology and understood how harmful cyberbullying truly is. Those were her exact words. I simply stood there gripping my burnt orange sheets decision, apparently made through panic, while the stranger experienced her personal growth moment in the home goods section. When she finally finished speaking, I managed to respond, "Thanks. It's okay. Good conversation," and hurried toward the checkout area. I sat in my vehicle for 25 minutes afterward with the air conditioning running at maximum, even though the temperature was only 64 degrees outside. That's when the realization struck me powerfully. I'm no longer just Sarah to certain people. I've become the woman from the social media video. My public humiliation has transformed into my defining characteristic, and that understanding made me furious in a way I hadn't experienced before. Not the melancholy anger I'd been carrying for weeks, but pure, energizing, productive rage that motivated actual change. Sunday morning, I awakened at 6:08 a.m., unable to return to sleep, and created a comprehensive list in my phone's notes. Application: transform my hairstyle, always wanted to attempt a pixie cut, but Tyler preferred lengthy hair. Enroll in that martial arts class Casey keeps mentioning. Finally, submit applications for that professional certification I've been postponing. Completely redecorate my bedroom, eliminate the masculine-friendly color palette. Create a dating profile. By 11:30 a.m. I'd already accomplished item number 1. I walked into Grey Clips without any appointment, living recklessly, and removed 8 inches of hair. The stylist continuously questioned if I felt certain, if I required additional time to consider, if someone had influenced my decision. I informed her absolutely not. I simply needed transformation. She didn't need to understand that I was mentally dedicating each scissor cut to something. Tyler had criticized about me throughout our relationship. You'd appear more attractive with shaped eyebrows. Snip. No man desires a woman who consumes more food than him. Snip. Your laughter sounds somewhat loud occasionally. Snip. When she rotated me to view the final outcome, I barely recognized my reflection in the most positive way possible. My neck felt lighter. My head felt lighter. Honestly, my entire existence felt lighter. I posted a selfie on Instagram when I returned home. Just me with my new hairstyle. Natural sunlight streaming through my living room window with the caption, "Fresh month, fresh me." Within 90 minutes, it had received 92 likes, including from Alex and 2 of Tyler's other friends. Perhaps petty satisfaction, but I'll accept these small victories. Monday delivered item number 2 from my list. I forced myself to Casey's martial arts studio at an unreasonably early hour, convinced I'd embarrass myself completely. The instructor, Jennifer, coincidentally sharing the same name as Casey's roommate, maintained such rapid pacing that I didn't have opportunity to feel self-conscious. By the conclusion, I was completely soaked in perspiration and my arms felt like overcooked pasta, but also strangely empowered. I checked my phone after class to discover 4 missed calls from unrecognized numbers. Tyler's new disposable phone strategy and 1 message from Alex asking if we could have a conversation sometime. Left him on read. Not prepared for that discussion yet. Tuesday, I finally addressed item number 3 and submitted my application for that digital marketing certification I'd been considering for months. Tyler always claimed it represented wasted money since I already maintained stable employment. It required 47 minutes to complete the application, another 25 to compose the brief personal statement, and approximately 3 seconds to click submit before I could second-guess myself. I experienced a minor panic attack immediately afterward, questioning whether I was making a tremendous error. I contacted my mother, who calmed me down in her typical manner, half encouragement, half I don't comprehend why you're complicating your existence, but I support you regardless. Wednesday was when circumstances became intense. I was shopping for groceries when my phone began exploding with messages from Casey. Contact me immediately. Tyler is broadcasting live on Instagram. He's discussing you. It's terrible. Abandoned my shopping cart in the middle of the cereal aisle. Apologies. 2 underpaid retail workers and rushed my vehicle to witness this disaster. Sure enough, there was Tyler, clearly intoxicated at 2:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, face flushed red and speech slurred, speaking directly to the camera about how he'd lost his soulmate and didn't understand how to continue existing. The comments were appearing rapidly, mostly people advising him to seek help or end the broadcast. But he continued, reading some comments aloud while ignoring others. Then he expressed something that made my blood freeze completely. I know she's watching this. Sarah, I'm visiting tonight. We must resolve this situation. I'm not accepting rejection anymore. I immediately contacted Casey in complete panic mode. She offered to stay with me, but I ended up calling my brother Carlos instead. He lives closer to my apartment and frankly appears more intimidating. If Tyler actually appeared, Carlos arrived at 5:45 p.m. with his girlfriend Maria and sufficient overnight supplies for an entire week. He told me not to argue, they were remaining until this guy receives the message. He made himself comfortable on my sofa, connected his PlayStation to my television, and proceeded to behave like this was completely normal. By 8:15 p.m. I'd almost convinced myself Tyler's threat was merely intoxicated rambling. By 9:15 p.m., I was beginning to feel relaxed. By 9:52 p.m., the doorbell chimed. Carlos responded while Maria and I remained in the background. I could hear Tyler's voice, slurred and emotional, demanding to see me. Carlos's responses were quiet and composed. I couldn't distinguish the words, but the tone was unmistakable. After approximately 6 minutes, I heard my door close. Carlos returned, appearing irritated but calm, reporting that Tyler had finally departed after Carlos convinced him this wasn't appropriate timing. Understatement of the century. He also mentioned that Tyler appeared terrible and smelled like he'd been swimming in whiskey. I slept horribly that evening, startling at every sound outside my window, continuously thinking about how different everything was just 6 weeks ago when I still believed Tyler was my perfect match, when I still thought I understood him completely. Thursday morning, I awakened to a message from an unrecognized number. This is Tyler's mother. I'm concerned about him and don't know what to do. He won't eat, barely sleeps. Lost his employment yesterday for arriving intoxicated. I understand you don't owe him anything, but please contact me. Discussing emotional manipulation, she'd always behaved this way. treating Tyler like he couldn't possibly handle consequences, swooping in to resolve everything. One of many warning signs I'd ignored throughout our relationship. I showed the message to Carlos, who recommended ignoring it, but something about it troubled me throughout the day. Not guilt exactly, but a persistent feeling that this situation was escalating beyond what I'd intended. Around 3:15 p.m., I decided to respond, "I'm sorry, Tyler is struggling, but I'm not responsible for his decisions or his recovery. Please encourage him to seek professional assistance." She replied immediately, "He made an error. Everyone deserves forgiveness." I didn't respond. Some errors permanently change how you perceive someone. That evening, something unexpected occurred. I was browsing through TikTok, glutton for punishment. I acknowledged when I discovered a video from someone I didn't follow. It was one of those storytelling videos, and the caption made my heart stop. When your friend humiliates his girlfriend on social media and you finally confront him for being toxic, it was Marcus, one of Tyler's longtime friends, the person who was literally in the original video laughing along. In the video, Marcus explained how he'd been complicit in Tyler's toxic behavior for years. Not just with me, but with previous girlfriends too. How their friend group had developed a pattern of encouraging Tyler's worst impulses. How the social media incident had been a wake-up call for him personally. He concluded with, "Sarah, if you see this, I apologize. We all failed you. And Tyler, man, get help. This isn't about winning her back. This is about becoming someone who would never hurt her initially." I watched it 9 times, sent it to Casey, who responded with "wow" and nothing else, for a complete 15 minutes. Then Marcus messaged me privately on Instagram, "Hey, hope that didn't make things worse." Just couldn't remain silent anymore. No pressure to respond. I reflected on that for quite some time. Appreciated that he didn't expect a reply. Finally wrote back, "Thank you for speaking up. Better late than never." We ended up having a surprisingly candid conversation. He informed me Tyler had been spiraling severely since I left, drinking daily, getting into altercations, alienating friends. Said their friend group was divided between those enabling him and those attempting to help him recover. Marcus also confirmed something I'd suspected. This wasn't the first time Tyler had spoken about me that way. Just the first time it was recorded. That hit differently, knowing it wasn't a one-time intoxicated mistake, but a pattern. A genuine reflection of how he perceived me when I wasn't present. Friday yesterday marked exactly 1 month since I walked away. I decided to celebrate my Independence Day by addressing the final item on my list, downloading a dating application. Not because I'm prepared to date, God knows, but because I wanted to remind myself that Tyler isn't the only option in the universe. That there's an entire world of people who might appreciate me without secretly criticizing me. Setting up my profile felt strangely vulnerable, selecting photographs where I actually liked my appearance. Writing a biography that was authentically me. Not curated to appeal to one specific person's preferences, like exercising muscles I'd forgotten I possessed. I had just completed setting up my profile when my phone rang. Another unrecognized number. I almost declined automatically, assuming it was Tyler with yet another disposable phone. But something made me answer. It wasn't Tyler. It was his friend Alex. Alex sounded strange, nervous, speaking too rapidly. He said he needed to tell me something important. Something about the original social media post. Something that might change how I viewed everything. I almost hung up. Almost told him I was finished with all of it. Finished with Tyler. Finished with his friends and their drama. But then Alex said something that made my world stop spinning. The social media post wasn't spontaneous. "Sarah, Tyler planned it deliberately. And I can prove it." The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever, but was probably only a few seconds. My hands started shaking as I processed what he'd just revealed. Everything I thought I knew about that horrible night was about to change completely. And I wasn't sure I was ready to hear the truth about just how calculated Tyler's betrayal really was. "What do you mean, planned?" I managed to whisper, though part of me already knew I didn't want to hear the answer. "I'm meeting Alex today at 3 p.m. at the local cafe." Carlos demanded to accompany me and position himself at a table close by for safety. I'm completely clueless about what Alex plans to reveal to me. I'll share an update after our conversation. My nerves are completely frayed and I've switched outfits 5 times already. Send positive thoughts my way, I suppose. Edit. About to head out to the cafe now. Appreciate all the encouraging responses. To address the frequent inquiries. No, I haven't unblocked Marcus and have no intention of doing so. Yes, I'm carrying my personal safety spray. Thanks for worrying, LOL. And absolutely not, I don't want Marcus back. I simply need to comprehend what the heck actually occurred. Hey everyone! I've redrafted this update 5 times now because I'm still struggling to accept everything that unfolded. First, massive gratitude to everyone who sent encouraging messages after my suspenseful previous update. Apologies for keeping you in suspense, but I genuinely required time to digest what Alex revealed to me. Let's rewind to Saturday at 3:07 p.m. I entered the cafe with my stomach twisted in anxiety. Located Alex in the back booth frantically tearing apart a tissue. Carlos positioned himself at a table by the entrance, looking incredibly conspicuous despite his attempted disguise of wearing sunglasses inside. Alex appeared terrible, not Marcus-level catastrophe, but definitely under stress. Dark shadows beneath his eyes, greasy hair, sporting the identical hoodie I'd noticed him wearing in at least 4 recent social media posts. The initial 10 minutes were excruciatingly uncomfortable. He apologized approximately 20 different ways for his involvement in the social media situation. I simply sipped my iced coffee and waited for him to reach his actual point. Eventually, he retrieved his phone. Before I reveal this, you should understand I only discovered it yesterday. I was searching through old message threads trying to locate a restaurant we'd ordered from previously, and I found this conversation that Marcus initiated about 6 weeks before. You know? He slid his device across the table. It displayed a messaging group titled Brotherhood Squad containing Marcus, Alex, Robert, and 2 other guys. The messages dated back 7 weeks before the social media incident. Marcus, need assistance with something. Guys, Robert, what's happening? Marcus, attempting to figure out how to end things with S. Alex, seriously. Thought you 2 were apartment hunting together? Marcus, exactly the issue. She's becoming too attached. Plus, I encountered someone at the fitness center. My face flushed as I continued scrolling. Marcus proceeded to explain that he'd been communicating with his words a woman named Jessica for nearly 4 months. But he was concerned about my reaction to a separation since we shared numerous mutual friends and she tends to become emotional. Excuse me. As I continued reading, it became worse. Marcus was literally requesting his friend's guidance on how to make me initiate the breakup so he could appear innocent. Their recommendations ranged from gradually becoming more detached to creating arguments over trivial matters too, and this nearly made me drop the phone. Just act terribly on social media so she witnesses it and leaves you. The final message in the conversation was from Marcus. Social media might work. She rarely uses it anyway. I glanced up at Alex, who couldn't maintain eye contact. Why reveal this now? I inquired. He explained that following our previous conversation, he'd been experiencing increasing guilt about his involvement in everything. He claimed he'd assumed the social media post was simply intoxicated foolishness, not a calculated strategy. He hadn't known about Jessica until he discovered these messages. Marcus has been deceiving everyone, Alex stated, telling us how devastated he is, how he committed the greatest error of his existence. Meanwhile, he's still messaging Jessica. I witnessed them together at Panera yesterday. It was like the final puzzle piece falling into position. The social media post wasn't an intoxicated error. It was intentional. Just a scheme that backfired when I vanished. Instead of confronting him, I sat there momentarily attempting to process the reality that not only had Marcus deliberately humiliated me online, but he'd done it to escape our relationship and pursue someone else. And now he was performing the heartbroken boyfriend act to preserve his reputation with everyone. I thanked Alex for showing me the truth, then exited the cafe with Carlos following behind, asking countless questions I wasn't prepared to answer. That evening, I reached a decision. After 39 days of silence, I was going to speak with Marcus on my conditions. Not to reconcile that possibility had sailed, crashed into an iceberg, and sunk to the ocean floor, but to inform him that I knew everything. Sunday morning at precisely 10:15 a.m., I messaged Marcus from my actual number. We need to have a conversation today. Sewell Loundan Centrofin, Bean There Calf on Oak Street. Don't be late, he replied within 15 seconds. I'll be there. Thank you, Sarah. I love you. Spoiler alert, he absolutely does not love me. I spent the following 4 hours alternating between complete confidence and total panic. Changed my outfit 5 times. Rehearsed what I planned to express in the mirror like I was preparing for a performance evaluation. Contacted Casey twice to calm my nerves. I arrived at Bean There Calf 25 minutes early to claim the corner table with my back against the wall. Strategic positioning. Ordered a vanilla latte I had absolutely no intention of consuming. Marcus entered at 2:28 p.m., scanning the establishment until he noticed me. He appeared better than I anticipated. Showered, clean-shaven, wearing the green sweater I'd purchased him. For a brief moment, my heart performed that familiar flutter it always did when I saw him. Then I recalled the messaging group screenshots he attempted to embrace me, which I avoided by indicating the chair opposite me. His expression fell, but he sat down and immediately launched into what sounded like a prepared monologue about his regret. How much he missed me. How the past month had been the most difficult of his existence. I allowed him to speak for exactly 3 minutes. Then I positioned my phone screen up between us, displaying the screenshots Alex had sent me of the group conversation. "So who's Jessica?" I asked. The expression on his face. "Everyone." It was like watching someone receive an electric shock. His mouth opened and closed like a fish struggling for oxygen. Those are, Alex shouldn't have. Just tell me the truth, Marcus. For once. The subsequent 25 minutes were enlightening. Once he realized he was exposed, the apologies ceased and the excuses began. Jessica was merely a friend initially. Naturally, yes. He'd been uncertain about our relationship for months. He believed 3 years was excessive to spend with one person in your 20s. The social media post was foolish, but he never expected me to discover it. "I panicked when you disappeared," he admitted. "I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. Jessica wasn't worth losing you." That's when understanding dawned. He wasn't devastated about hurting me. He was devastated about appearing like the villain, about losing control of the story, about everyone discovering what he'd done. I sipped my cold latte and spoke the words I'd been practicing all morning. "I'm not here to reconcile, Marcus. I'm here to inform you that I know everything, and I'm finished. Don't contact me, my friends, or my family again. We're over." His eyes filled with tears that I'm now 99% certain were theatrical. "But I love you," he said. "We can repair this. I'll do anything. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent 4 months planning how to humiliate me so you could pursue someone else." I stood up, gathering my purse and jacket. That's when he played his final card, one I wasn't expecting. "I terminated my apartment lease," he blurted out. "I've been staying with my mother. I thought we'd be living together next month like we discussed." For a brief, insane moment, I felt guilty, like I was the one destroying his life. Then I remembered the cold calculation of those messages, planning exactly how to shatter my heart in the most public way possible. "You should contact Jessica," I said. "I'm certain she has space at her place." Then I departed. No dramatic exit, no scene. "Just finished," he messaged 18 times in the following 3 hours, switching from apologetic to angry to desperate and back again. I didn't respond to any of them, just captured screenshots and sent them to Casey with the caption, "The audacity persists." Around 1 p.m., my phone illuminated with a message from an unfamiliar number. My initial thought was, here we go again. But it wasn't Marcus. It was Jessica. "Hello, Sarah. You don't know me, but I believe we need to talk. Marcus has been telling me one story and apparently telling you another. We met for coffee that afternoon. I've consumed enough caffeine this week to energize a small town." Turns out Jessica had no idea Marcus had a girlfriend until 3 weeks ago when she witnessed his public apology video. He told her he was single, had been for months, and was dealing with an unstable ex who couldn't move on. Sound familiar? The most surprising part? She's actually pleasant. We ended up conversing for 4 hours, comparing notes on Marcus's deceptions. She showed me messages where he was telling her he loved her the same day he was leaving, tearful voicemails on my phone. By the end of our conversation, we were following each other on social media and had made preliminary plans to visit a new cocktail lounge opening next month. Shared trust issues, solidarity, I suppose. That evening, I finally accomplished something I'd been postponing. I temporarily unblocked Marcus on Instagram and visited his profile. His story from 4 hours earlier was a black screen with the song "Someone You Loved" playing, classic melancholy male anthem. So typical, and the text, "Sometimes you don't realize what you possess until it's gone." His profile picture remained us from last summer. His most recent post, a throwback photograph of us from our second anniversary with the caption, "I'd sacrifice everything to return to this moment." Meanwhile, Jessica had sent me screenshots of him messaging her that same day asking if she wanted to meet up. Later, I've never felt more confident about a decision in my entire life. Yesterday marked exactly 42 days since I'd discovered the social media post. 6 weeks of pain, anger, confusion, and finally clarity. I officially blocked Marcus on every platform, changed my phone number this morning, informed my landlord that under no circumstances should he ever be permitted into the building. And then I did something purely for myself. Remember that digital marketing certification I applied for? I was accepted yesterday. Classes begin next month. I paid the enrollment fee with money I'd been saving for the apartment. Marcus and I were supposed to share last evening. Casey, Carlos, and several other friends visited for an impromptu goodbye Marcus celebration. We ordered pizza, drank inexpensive wine, and took turns reading the increasingly desperate messages he sent over the past weeks. Toxic, I know, but also strangely therapeutic. At one point, Carlos asked if I felt sad about wasting 3 years with Marcus. The thing is, those years weren't wasted. They were education about warning signs I'll never ignore again, about my own strength, about the type of relationship I actually deserve. This morning, I awakened to a notification that Marcus had tagged me in a new Instagram post. My finger hesitated over the view button for approximately 5 seconds before I realized I don't care what it says. His words hold no power over me anymore. Instead, I deleted the notification, prepared my coffee, and sat on my balcony watching the sunrise. So I suppose this officially concludes this saga. Everyone, edit. People are asking if I'm concerned Marcus will see this post. Honestly, part of me hopes he does. Let him read how completely he failed at controlling this narrative. Let him see that his hideous ex is flourishing without him. And to any other women out there dealing with your own toxic situations, you deserve better. And better absolutely exists. Trust me on that.